Here's the thing about Parentfolk is that it's not this big investment of time and energy.
Yeah.
You go for the day. Some of the events, like the one that we're doing down south, it's in sessions. It's like 3.5 hours. You go, you vibe out, you get the experience. Your kids have a good time. You have a few drinks with your friends. You leave. I wanted it to be something where like kids could go and you could bring your older kids and they could do something. But then we've got Brio doing like really cool interactive experiences.
It sounds so much fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait. And the reason why I say I can't wait is because shh, don't tell Mum.
Hello and welcome to Don't Tell Mum.
My name's Barney.
And I'm Jamie.
And this is the 20th most listened to parenting podcast in
Norway!
Oh my gosh, we haven't done Norway before.
We really haven't done Norway. I was so excited. I was like, I need to get a country we haven't done. And surprisingly, 20th. So all you Norwegians.
Oh my God,
Norwegians.
Norwegians, if you're out there, Scandinavian countries, we love that you listen to our podcast. Jamie is unfortunately dyslexic, but you know what? I'm always here to correct her. It's fine. We got a special guest with us today. That's why we're sat next to each other.
I'm so excited.
So I can smell you.
This is one of the most exciting guests I feel like we've had on.
Oh,
yes.
And very articulate, by the way. We've had a chat prior to this episode going
Yeah.
live, but would you like to do part of the introduction or would you like me to do the introduction?
You do it because I did it last week.
Oh my
with Selena.
goodness. Okay, today we are joined by the incredible founder of Oh Mama and part of the Parentfolk team, which is what we're going to dive into mostly in today's episode. It's Shannon Barry! Woohoo!
Hi.
Hey, babes!
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so refreshing to hear your voice. You have such a nice speaking voice. You could be a voiceover artist.
Stop it.
You could.
Oh my God.
When I
Do you know
first
what?
heard it,
No, when I first started doing social stuff and I feel like I catch myself sometimes going really high pitch and I'm like, oh, I've got to lower it down. So I feel like I consciously have to work on that.
We'll do a little bit of a debrief on
Perfect.
you leading up to this point. 2 kids.
Yes.
Born and raised in the States.
Yes.
San Francisco was kind of the last place you were stationed before you then came out to the UK.
Correct.
Am I right?
Yes.
And you went to university in San Francisco.
Yes, I did.
What's university in San Francisco like?
Do you know what? It's not like in proper San Francisco. The SFSU is just like outside.
Okay.
So you like kind of go in. Not that exciting.
Okay. But it's like, is it one of those things? I feel like in the UK, when we go to university, I went to Nottingham University, which is like a city campus.
Yeah.
But I feel like American campuses are just enormous.
Yes.
Like, did you get
So
the
big.
full college experience? Were there like crazy sports teams there? Did you do Rush Week? Like, what happened there?
So again, San Diego, which is where I went to high school, that is like college campuses there is everything you imagine, the stereotypical
The red
American.
cups.
Yeah, all this stuff.
Yeah.
San Francisco is very like art, culture, like there's no sports teams.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Yeah, like a heavy emphasis on like human rights and things like that. So yeah, very different because I got the whole college experience when I lived in San Diego. And we used to
Sure.
go to all those parties in high school. So yeah.
What did you
Cheeky.
study?
International business and marketing.
Wow. And you're
Yeah.
basically doing that now.
Yeah.
So it kind of works.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
I mean,
People
I
normally
I know, that's true. People do like geography at university and then they're like, I'm a painter. Yeah. I love that though.
I basically went to my boss because I worked for a business called Benefit Cosmetics, which I'm sure you've heard of. And it was like, I just wanted to work in their corporate office and I wanted to grow the company. And I literally went to my boss and was like, what do you think I should go to university for if I want to be the CEO of this company one day? And she was like, this.
Oh, wow.
And you literally, so that's how you like targeted.
Yeah.
You know what though? I think that's great because I have a similar kind of vein of my past where I felt very fortunate that when I was like 17 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I felt
Yeah.
fortunate because so many people that go, I'm going to university, what should I study? I don't know what I want to do when I grow up or whatever, you know, whether they go and do psychology or they go and do like just business at university and there's no like direction. I wanted to be a dancer. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to university, but I'm going to dance while I'm there.
Yeah.
So I can get a degree and also, you know,
And you did get your degree, didn't you?
I did get a degree.
Yeah.
I got a Desmond Tutu.
That's not great, is
A
it?
tutu. No, it's crap. It's like a C. Yeah. But I ended up dancing for a living.
But
so
you
we're
know what?
chilling.
It's so funny because his parents both, they were like, well, we don't really want him to be a dancer. But the
Right.
thing is you can never change what a kid wants.
Well, my
Yeah.
dad. My mum was all for it. My dad was like, finish your education
Yeah.
and then do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But at least just go to university and get a degree.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I think that's a fair point.
I think that's a really logical approach to
Parenting.
to
helping
parenting.
kids. Yeah.
So you grew up in a single mother household and your mum had you at 16, 16, 17?
No, she was pregnant at 15 and a half.
15.
Yeah.
Have you spoken, have you done like a deep dive with your mum about that experience and how it was for her? Did you ever really like do that? Or
No,
was it something that was...
me and my mother don't have the very best relationship.
Gotcha.
We're fine. Like
Yeah.
the kids, she sees the kids. She's part of our life.
Is she living here? Or
She's
is she
not my
living...
bestie. No, so she lives in the U.S. She lives in Nebraska. She's like, imagine what you know about me and imagine the polar opposite of me. She is all those things.
Okay.
But she's lovely and wonderful. But yeah, I mean, I think when you go through it, the things that I saw when I was growing up is that she was incredibly determined, very strong-willed. Anything that she set her mind to, she was like, I'm doing this. Nothing is getting in my way.
Okay.
And I'm really fortunate that I inherited that from her. So yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Undeterred determinism.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it.
yes.
And did you find it like you guys like ahead on the world together, kind of like mother, daughter? Because did you have a good relationship with your dad? Did you not have a dad figure?
No. So my father died when I was 17, but I didn't know him.
Okay.
So it's not, I mean, yes, that is sad, but also like it wasn't, it was as if you try to think about, like, I think when you grow up in a single family home, you don't have the reference as a child to go, oh, I'm missing something. And she made every effort to make sure that I never felt like I was missing anything. I went to great schools. I went to dance. Like, I was heavily involved in dance when I was growing up. I was really involved in so many things. So I never really felt like I had less than, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Two of my best friends grew up without fathers.
Yeah.
So I was like the anomaly. The fact that all my besties didn't have father figures.
Yeah.
And then my dad kind of stepped into that role to help them as well. So it was like kind of.
Her dad's a
that.
legend. He's a
Yeah,
legend.
it sounds like a legend.
In every sense of the word as well, like loving, but then also he's like a rock star. Like he's an absolute dude. He wrote the score for Monty Python. Just thought I'd drop that in. Thought I'd drop that in because everyone has that reaction. Everyone has that reaction. It's epic.
Yeah, he basically did all the movies. He was so young when they were doing the TV show. So he only realised that he was hired by Monty Python when John Cleese walked in the room for the script reading when they started doing.
So like
the
Michael
reading.
Palin was talking to him the whole time.
Yes.
He didn't know who Michael Palin was. He was like, yeah, sure.
Oh my
I'll
God.
do this.
He gave him like £2,500 to invest in like a studio, build it at the bottom of his garden. And so he built the studio at the bottom of his garden in Finchley in London, and that's where they did all the movies. So crazy. And then they got a studio in Camden.
What a cool thing to grow up around
So
also.
cool.
It was,
cool.
it was so cool. And he's just such a relaxed person. Whereas me and my mum, completely the opposite. We're crazy. Freaking crazy.
Your mum is you, so I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. We're crazy. But you married a rock star, which is pretty cool.
Oh, we're gonna get
not
to
a
that.
rock star.
Oh.
Not a rock star.
We are definitely gonna get to that.
that.
I have a really quick question I want to ask before we dive into that, because progressing from your childhood and going to and living in San Francisco before coming here, I heard that in San Francisco, only up until something like 8 years ago, maybe even more recent than that it was legal to walk around naked. Is that true?
Yes.
I bloody knew it. What? And loads of people don't believe me when I tell them that it was legal to walk around with no clothes on in San Francisco.
I mean, and if it wasn't, everybody did it. Like I didn't do it, obviously. I'm just not that person. But there is, oh God, it's going to drive me crazy now. There's this amazing festival. There's so many cool things, like events that go on there that are just like ad hoc and intense. And there's one where it's literally just loads of naked people.
You go from San Francisco to the UK following a man. How very dare you. Did you meet him in San Francisco?
Yeah, so we met in Monterey, which is just south, like really close to San Francisco. He was in Monterey. He was on tour with a band called Mumford & Sons. Woo. And he was just there. It wasn't like he was doing anything. Like he was just there hanging out with all of them.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't like part of the crew or anything. He was just like friends with them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And we met at an after party for the band, and we were in the queue, and the fire marshal had been like, no more people. And we were like, whatever. And he's like, I bet I have better passes than you to get into this. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like, I'm definitely getting in before you. So we had I'm like on my phone, like messaging the production team. And he sat there and he's like, I'm getting in. And someone came and got him right before me. And he's like, there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But he found me inside, and then he actually proposed that night, which was hilarious.
I'm sorry,
drunkenly on the walk back to the hotel, he was like,
as a joke,
we should get married. And I was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you felt, was it like love at first sight?
Look, here's the thing about me. Like, I'm not a good dater. I'm like the man in dating.
Okay,
like
sure.
I'm the one who like doesn't call, doesn't show up, ignore it. Like through my 20s, I was not the person you wanted to date because I was like, oh no, I can't be, like I'm not into it.
Yeah.
And he just, something about him, and I could not tell you what the thing was, but something about him made me go, yeah, I'm doing this. Like we met, we hung out, they stayed in San Francisco. Him and his best friend Ross stayed with us for the weekends. They went back, and I was like already looking. I was on a photo shoot, and I was literally trying to book tickets to the UK. And the photographer who had worked with me for years was like, what are you doing? He's like, you never pay attention to anybody. And I just something happened.
Wow.
And so I just got really, I think, but I'm like that with everything.
How
like
old
if
were
I
you?
decide 28.
Okay.
When I decide I'm going to do something, I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to make sure that happens. Like, and that's just part of my personality. So that's kind of what it was. So yeah, moved to the UK.
Wow.
Sold everything I owned, quit my job, my dream job that I loved.
Did you have a house over there? Did you own a house? Or
No.
did you still
I
renting?
lived in a really beautiful like apartment with two of my best friends. We had the most gorgeous garden. It was just so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think regret is a really big thing. And I'm more scared of regret than doing things that are scary.
There you go.
Preach to that.
Yeah, that's
Preach
awesome.
to that.
So yeah, sold everything, quit my job. My boss is like, I feel like you're crazy, but I was like, I'm just not willing to not try this. So did it.
Yeah, and it made sense for you to move over to the UK because he had his family foundations over here.
Yeah.
Than with you in America.
Yeah. Like I was at the point, when you get like, it was at the point in San Francisco where it was like a mass exodus of all my friends. Everybody was like getting in relationships, buying houses, moving out, having kids, doing all those things. And I was sort of starting to get into that head space.
Sure.
But what I knew is that when I had children, I always wanted my kids to have people around them.
Yeah.
The way that I would look at some of my friends and they had their aunties, their grandparents, and like that was so important to me that like when we were making the decision on who would move where, I was like, do you know what? I'd much rather move here because like your family is amazing and I just don't have that.
Do you think you not having that when you were growing up has impacted you at all?
Oh,
and
massive.
your parenting? Do you think?
Oh yeah, massively.
Okay.
Did you like 180 the other way? So obviously,
Yeah.
I know that you still said you had a really good support network from your mum when you were growing up. Like she instilled
Yeah.
a lot of really good beliefs in you.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Do you feel like you went the other way in terms of being more like motherly and like, did you have that kind of...
Do you know, I was really surprised when I became a mom by how much everything affected me. I was so conscious of how much everything affects you when you're a child. I mean, your brain is forming. And so all the things that are happening and your understanding of relationships and what that looks like, it's happening then. So I get to the point where it was a positive thing and then also a negative thing where I would be so conscious of like every interaction and like making sure that our communication was on point and things. And my husband would be like, look, we're not perfect. But in those early days, I think you do psychologically for a mom when you're like breastfeeding, doing all the things and you're like, my husband would be like, it's not that like, Shannon, I need you to calm down.
It's not that deep.
So our child doesn't need to do 6 classes right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
That reminds me
So-
of he's got to swim, do music.
No, but you know what?
I did them all too.
When you relate to things when you look back on your childhood and go, damn, if only I learnt this, or if
that's
only
true.
I,
Oh, God, yeah.
that kind of thing. But is there any advice? Because we have a lot of single mothers that listen to this podcast. Is there any advice that you would give single mothers in the position that your mum was in when you were growing up, that you wish your mum did slightly differently, or just looking at it from an outer side point of view?
I think the biggest thing that I learned about parenting from looking at my relationship with my mom is that she had big control things. She really wanted to control a lot of my life. And I think as a parent, it's really important to be child-led, right?
Yeah.
Give them their independence.
Yeah, to allow them to lead you on what's important to them and prioritizing that and really listening and all those things. So yeah, I think a lot of single moms I know are actually really brilliant at that. That's not so much about being a single mom, but more about parenting. I think with being a single mom, it's more so that like, if you don't know that you are missing something, and most of the time you aren't, because sometimes having that dad doesn't mean you're better off.
No.
Sometimes that mom is 10 times, or that dad even, is better single on their own than they will ever be with somebody.
You know what? We balance each other out really. I feel very fortunate that we balance each other out really well. I think that there are certain things that I lean into more, and then certain things that Jamie leans into more, and I can see Rocket like observing us and taking like bits of information.
You stress, and I'm like the chilled one when it comes to fun times. Okay. You know what I mean? I feel like that though.
I don't think you're chill.
You don't want to get. I'm like getting down and dirty and fun and crazy, and I'm like, you want to do this? Let's do this.
She's like the let's get the paints out and let's paint everything, and I'm like the. Let's remain calm.
Yeah.
But I can like.
That's a good balance.
Yeah,
there you go.
I can put him to bed like that. And Jamie comes downstairs like hair frazzled, like he won't go to sleep.
Yeah,
I'm like, just let me get there. I'll be fine.
Last night when you were away, I was like, I need an award for how good he went down last night. I was like, I've won in life because normally he's like, "Mommy, throwing things, and then
because he
last
knows
night
he'll get you to go back in the
I
room.
know.
That's the
and
thing.
I'm in the corner, like in the hallway, like shaking, me like, just 5 more minutes, just fine, it's fine. The book says, just leave them for like 2 more
very
minutes.
True.
The book, the book.
Before you got to kids though, because when you first came to the UK, I know we're jumping timelines constantly.
All right.
I apologise.
I'm here for it.
We caught wind that you kind of lived on a tour bus for a little bit.
Right. So when I met Matt, and then we did the long distance for a year, and then he went back on tour with Mumford and was actually doing something. He was building things on like when they were doing the
sets
festival
and stuff.
Yeah,
nice, cool.
Not sets, just
Was it like
random
as
things.
So it was like as they brought their mate,
really.
they brought their mate on tour.
Kind
to
of
get involved, basically.
It's really through their friend Ross, and that's how it all sort of started. He does a lot of things for them. So
Didn't Ross go to your brother's school?
a weird interjection there is that I went to school with Marcus Mumford.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he was
How
4
funny.
years older than me, so he was the year above my brother.
That's
And
hilarious.
my brother was like friends with him and did like the plays at school and all that kind of stuff with him, and it was really strange to see. I didn't even know what it was like 15 years later. My brother had obviously heard of them, but I hadn't even heard of Mumford and Sons, and I saw her and I was like, that lead singer looks really familiar. And my brother messaged me being like, that's Marcus that we went to school with, and I was like, holy crap! And he was like headlining Glastonbury or something.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's
I remember when
impressive.
they broke through, and we were just like, "What is this music? This is the best thing we've heard."
was just
'Cause it's
something
so
different. Yeah.
I was like a big fan of theirs when I met Matt. So it wasn't like Matt is not like, they used to make fun of me, all of them, that I was like a mega fan. Like even to the point where when one of them was at our wedding, and one of my like the people who was making a speech made a joke about how Shannon was like a mega fan of the Mumford and Sons, and then here she is.
Funny.
But yeah, so basically he was back on tour with them doing like Canada and America. And I met him on tour and did a few of the states with him, which was cool. Yeah,
Any
really cool.
fun stories you can tell us from life on the road with Mumford and Sons, or are they boring?
No, I mean, I wasn't like I was
Not
hanging
boring.
out with them every day. I was more with the roadies and like.
They're the crazier ones, actually, aren't
They
they?
are
The
actually
roadies.
Oh my
the crazier
God.
ones.
Yes,
Were you
they
on
are
an
the crazy.
actual tour bus then? Were you on?
Yeah, but like sleeping in one of the like coffins.
Yeah. What's it like
Wow.
sleeping in one of those?
So scary.
I've never been on one.
Matt found this. It was on this the bus that we were on. He found these old passes that it was like Def Leppard, like a whole bunch of rock bands and stuff. And we were like, who was in here before us?
Searching for drugs or stains? Or
Yes, it was good, but it's like you feel slightly claustrophobic.
Yeah.
of
but it was
course.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's so.
Pretty
So
cool.
kids, when do they come round?
kids. Yeah,
And
so-
how was that entire experience for you?
Well, so we actually go back to America to get married. We don't tell a single soul.
Wow.
Ooh.
My friends threw an engagement party that night, and we didn't tell any of them because we wanted it to be like our
Your thing.
thing.
Your thing.
Which now I'm like questioning why we did that. Anyways, we then had a massive party wedding in Wales, and then very quickly after that, we had kids.
Wow.
Because I wanted to.
What was your timeline of dating? Where were you on that? Was it 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, a few years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was all pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you know, you know.
I feel like religiously people do like the 2 year mark. They meet and then 2 years later get engaged, then they get married and then they have the baby. And
Totally.
that's the kind of, and then we've done everything friggin' backwards. Yeah. We meet together
Really
8
cool.
years.
Really cool
Wow.
people. Wait, 8
8
years.
years, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I met him at 26, 27 I met you.
Yeah, we were in 2016 is when we met, at the end of 2016.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
he just come out of a relationship, so he wasn't really ready to go into one until 2017. And I remember crying in the shower.
I'd set my mark, 2017 was when
No, 20. No, I was like,
Isn't it funny the things we do when we're younger?
Yeah.
We're like, this is
You
what
look
this is
back.
how I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember standing, like, crying in the shower, and I came out of the shower. My dad knocked on the door. He was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I really liked that one."
And here you are.
Yeah, and then you came knocking on my birthday.
I came knocking. I did. I did.
I
realised the error
sneakily.
of my ways.
I brought a guy that fancied me to my birthday party and invited him to make him jealous, and it
So-
worked like a charm.
Strategic. Look at you.
So strategic,
Yeah,
isn't it?
good.
But it worked, so I can't knock it.
There you go.
So we have a recurring segment on this podcast that we typically call "What's New with Rocket," which is, let's talk about any new habits or milestones that he's hit in the past week, leading into this episode. So for you, your two kids, what milestones have they hit recently? Is there anything in particular that you feel proud of that they've reached a mark on in their lives right now?
Yeah. My kids are very different from each other, which is super weird to me considering they've grown up in the same situation.
Yeah.
My older son, Hudson, is he thinks about math and science and art and like he's that way inclined, where my younger son is like, he just wants to play anything with a ball, so they're completely different. Hudson has become this incredibly analytical person that I know I never was when I was younger.
Wow.
Like, he's so intelligent. The other day he did something where he just was like working out math problems on a piece of paper, and I was like, but like really complex things. And I was like, what's happening here? And he was like, don't you see the pattern, Mom? And I was like, oh shit, this is that moment where my child's smarter than me, isn't it?
How old?
He's 7.
7. Oh, wow.
And it was fun. I mean, I saw it, but like it took a while.
Yeah.
It was like in the beginning, I was like, I don't know. He's supposed to, but like the fear of like when your kids get to the point where they're home, like, I am terrible at math. I had a math tutor like all through uni.
Yeah,
Whereas
same.
like,
I was the same.
I mean, he's just so clever with that. So I feel really proud about that. And I have nothing to like, I didn't put anything into that, which is such an amazing thing to watch your kids have these skill sets. You're like, what is that? And where did it come from?
It's like Rocket this morning. He was on Barney's phone and he was going 1, 2, 3. He's 2, and he's 4, 5, 6, and I was like, oh my god, he's doing the numbers. And then we all
because he's like we were like, he's recognizing the symbol and knowing it's that number.
Yeah,
like
1,
going through
2,
them.
That's
3,
really
And then
good.
what happened?
And then we both looked over at him, and then he just was like, 1,
He was
2,
poking
all
he was
the
doing like
different ones.
0, 9, 6, and he was going like 1, 2, 3, and we were like, oh crap, okay,
maybe
you're not
not.
a genius yet.
Not a genius. But we
Honest
really
way.
did think though, didn't we? We were like, wow. Yeah, it's just the milestones that happen so fast. I wish when somebody said embrace those newborn months, I wish I listened, because I didn't. I was just like wanting to rush it, and it was always too stressful, and my headspace wasn't right. And we always rush these milestones. So we've got to embrace every single part of
Everyone,
Yeah.
That's the thing that happens with your second child is that, I mean, I was really conscious of that. Like going into my second child, I was like, right, I'm going to really get into each one of these moments of his life. I'm not going to wish the moments away. And it, because you do realize that you're like, oh my God, it's fleeting, it's gone.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you started a brand called Oh Mama.
Yeah.
And originally it was to support women after childbirth, because you get so many gifts through the door, but they're never for the woman who's just been through the most traumatic pain in her life.
Yeah.
So was that the second baby after you had the second baby?
Yeah. So that was,
Wow.
we started when I was pregnant, actually.
Okay.
So it's a good story though. I was with one of my now co-founder. We were at lunch and we were just talking about it. She was about to have her first kid. And like the thing is that once you've already had a kid, now when you talk to people who are about to have kids, you're like, guess what?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
But without scaring them away. But I think because I knew her and we had a lot in common, like we both came from the beauty industry, and like we spent a lot of time like going on trips and like doing things. And I was like, that stuff is going to change and it's going to be hard. Like, I need you to know that part's going to be hard. And she's like, yeah, I totally get it. And she's worked in PR and marketing forever. When you work in PR, you get a lot more gifts.
Of
Like
course,
from
yeah.
like I'm sure lots of other industries are the exact same, but when you work in PR, it's like all these things are coming through, and you're like 80,000 different like gray fluffy blankets with your child's name on it.
Yeah.
You're like, how many more of these do I need? So that was a big thing for her. She was talking about that, and I was saying, look, everything's about to change. And I had a friend who actually sent me some skincare.
Yeah.
And a note inside that said, if the only thing you manage to do today is wash your face and keep your kids alive, you're fucking winning. And I was like,
It's true.
Yeah.
so that emotional moment and that moment where I actually felt seen was so powerful that I really, really, really wanted other people to get that.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it does become all about the baby, which is great because babies are great. But also, like, a new mom's been born too. She is completely different. A new dad's been born too. It's the exact same thing. I do that sometimes where I talk about the mom brand and I'm like, oh god, also dads.
But I totally see what I mean. You've gone through
And
you
grandparents
guys have
as well.
gong through the traumatic side of it, and obviously there is an element
But
of
it's a big change for
trauma
both.
the,
I mean, it's
the
your
guy
whole
as well.
life.
Yeah, of course. But physically, like the physical transformation is definitely something that I think hits a bit harder.
Yeah.
And recovery process is something that needs to be
Completely.
like, and have a lot more attention to it as well. And even like you said, self-care goes out the window sometimes when you're up every 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then the following day you're just like, I can't be bothered to do anything, but I have to find energy somewhere to.
It's the moments that you
something.
take for yourself and that can be so incredibly powerful, right? The tiny little things. It's going to therapy and doing all the things when you've got big problems, but sometimes if you do the tiny steps now, it doesn't lead to the big problems.
Yeah.
It was so
And,
weird. I remember waking up one day. It must have been about 3-4 weeks after I'd had Rocket, and I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself.
Yeah.
And it was that hit of the moment going, shit, I don't love myself at the moment. I really do not love myself. And it's such a wake-up call because you've just given your energy and time and effort to this baby that's just been born naturally, as you would. But you really do leave all your... I was like thinking to myself, I have to make him attracted to me somehow.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that? Are we ever going to have sex again? I don't know. Like it's a lot for a woman to take on that, and you've got all this emotional trauma just hitting you, following you through postpartum. So it's just so much for a woman.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny because when you said that, I was like, I did the same thing with Shani. I bought her pajamas. My friend, I bought her candles. I bought even the dad pajamas so they could just dress up together and just feel comfort there. And it should be... What was another thing we did with Laura?
We always thought that the best gift to give someone is we got them like frozen like lasagnas and shepherd's pies and stuff. Yeah. Said just fill your freezer.
Yes.
You don't have to cook now. Just chuck it in the oven. 45 minutes. You're good to go.
Yeah.
100%.
That was one of the things that we enjoyed the most. I think someone bought us a hamper and was just like, look, hundreds of people are going to buy you baby grows, clothes, blankets. Here's some food. And we were like, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things that you can do for a new parent. And you don't realize, like, you become completely sidelined to your own needs completely. So self-care, food, anything, nutrition, it just all takes this back thing because you're like, why isn't he sleeping? What milestone are we at? What's happening?
And you know, all these apps.
Oh my God, I know. The apps, the
freaking apps.
We skimmed kind of around your brand Oh Mama that you created. So it is its most basic terms. Explain to us and the audience at home what Oh Mama is and how that then led you into this incredible company that we now know you through, which is Parentfolk.
Yes. So Oh Mama is self-care for the modern mom. It's very much about giving her the moment for herself. So everything inside the box is tailored to the specific moment that she's in. So there's pregnancy boxes, there's new mom boxes, but everything really thinks about what she's going through. So there might be dry shampoo, there might be a really good face mask, it might be a vitamin C boost because your skin starts to lack things, or collagen. And so I think also because women become really confused about what's safe and what's not safe. If you're breastfeeding, that was a really big thing for me. So even down to like some of them have... One of them, we have a breastfeeding survival kit, which, oh God, I don't even know. Yeah, that one has like really good nipple balm in it and things like that. But the new mom survival has things that it's like a foot mask and things like that, where it's just like, it's 5 minutes out of your day where you can prioritize yourself, and that's it.
And then they kind of, sorry.
So I was going to say, we did that the other day. We've started introducing, we have 2 days a week where we don't have Rocket. And those 2 days, we normally would do date night. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do date night tonight. I want to sit upstairs and be on my phone scrolling.
She said that to me.
And I want to wear a facial and I want to just do my nails and just have me time. Because I never get me time anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody always wants a bit of you. Yeah. And it was so refreshing. You watched what you wanted to watch.
Part of that was because for the last 3 weeks, I've been hammering on about how much I want to watch Dune 2, the movie. And I waited so long.
I don't know what that is. Should I know what that is?
It's like the new Star. Let's just say it's like the new Star Wars, basically.
Oh, got it.
And their second one came out recently in the cinema. I've been trying to get my mates to watch it with me and go to the cinema. Can never find a time, and it's just gone on Apple TV. So I was like, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to watch it. You go upstairs, and Jamie was like, I'm going to do like a face mask. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We were so excited to have time apart.
And how like good for that is that for your head?
Oh my God. And then afterwards I was like, I love you now. I can see the light.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
There's an aura around you.
So I was like, it's actually really good. We should promote more like being apart and being together because it just definitely helps balance the relationship out.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast the other day and I can't remember. But it was talking about literally it's a happiness guru or something. Anyways, it was talking about how like in your week, you should schedule time to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
When you're in a relationship, there should be time for you to be together, but time where you're genuinely alone because that's the moment where you allow yourself to do the things that you really, really want to do.
Yeah.
Sit and look at my paws in the mirror for hours.
Yeah. Totally.
Love it. So your Oh Mama boxes became really popular. And then you ended up on great. You ended up on TV shows promoting them. You went on This Morning.
No,
Lorraine.
Well, look, I'd like to say I personally went on the show, but my boxes went on the show.
Landed on the
Lorraine
show.
talked about the show. Lorraine talked about the boxes.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been Holly talked about it on This Morning. It's been on a few times. It's been great. So yeah, we've had quite the journey. We bootstrapped that whole thing. Like nothing. We didn't take funding. It was it's hard. Starting a business is mental. It's like having a child.
Was it drop shipping or did you build the boxes yourself?
In the very beginning. So we launched in November of 2019.
Okay.
So right before
COVID.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So we were like, it's cool. We'll make all the first, like we did all the press boxes and like the hundreds of boxes that we first sent out. It was initially a subscription. So we did all those first boxes. Kyra came over, we made all the boxes, we sent them out. And then it was like going well, things were happening, and then COVID happened. But the plan was always to move to dropship really quick.
Nice.
And then we couldn't.
Oh, okay.
Because of COVID. Like it was just like everything just came and then the kids were home and I was packing boxes in the middle of the night. It was and also it was like at that point where like everybody was really into buying self-care gifts for other people.
Yeah.
So we just like killed it during that period.
Did you?
Yeah, it was good.
How did you juggle parenting and your business when it came to that?
I didn't juggle it. That is like the one thing that I think everybody is like, how do you juggle? Like, what's the perfect balance and what's the juggle? You don't. Sometimes you're better at one thing and then the other times you're better at the other thing. Something always has to give. Like you can't, personally, and this is just personal beliefs, I just don't think you can have it all the time.
So that's why you were working nights because you were like, I need to be able to find the time.
Totally.
But it's so refreshing that you just accept that fact because a lot of people will fight against that and push back and then cause themselves to be, get extremely like anxious about things and stuff. And if you're not perfect on both sides, people really suffer and they really like judge themselves. Whereas actually, if you can accept it and go, on some days I'm better with the business and other days I'm better with the kids. There is a balance to it, but you're not always going to get the balance right.
I think that's the best analogy I've ever heard when it comes to it's balance, but at the end of the day, it's not juggling. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
So then you got reached out to by Parentfolk, the Parent Festival.
Yes. So Nick reached out. I don't even actually know how it started. I think she emailed us or I emailed. I don't know how it started. Maybe someone introduced us. Somehow we got introduced. And she was like, I'd like to write about it. And so she did. She wrote about us starting this business, which was awesome.
It was a vlog, right, to begin with?
No. So that's just, Parentfolk started as a platform and previous to that, it was like a print newspaper, which still currently is a thing that happens. So so she started with this print newspaper, which was awesome. And then she built it into a platform. And then she went on to do the events, which is just, it's such an amazing story and it's such a cool brand. But when I met her and I didn't know about Parentfolk and I just became completely in love with it. The content that they put out was just really relevant to me. I think the really good thing about that is that I think a lot of times, a lot of parenting platforms try to tell you how to do things. And the really great thing about Parentfolk is that it's very much about parenting your own way, where yes, you can get expert advice and yes, you can pull little pieces of information from everybody and you should talk about their stories and what works for you. But genuinely, it's about parenting your own way.
Wow.
So when you like come into the kind of this festival space or the Parentfolk event space, how do they do their events so that it suits kind of the parenting lifestyle. And
Totally.
taking a kid to a festival, to a lot of people, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So how are things put in place, and how is the festival structured so that, you know, parents can really thrive there and actually get stuff done?
Yeah. The biggest thing that we consider whenever we're doing an event is that we want it to be as enjoyable for the parent as we do for the child, because at the reality of the day, you can plan a fun kid event, but if the parent's looking at their watch and like constantly thinking, how the hell do I get out of this? Then you've kind of missed the mark, and that's just like not something that's enjoyable. I think what Nick did was she created events that like I'd want to go to with my friends, and also my kids will enjoy it.
Wow.
So it's all about the experience, where there's music, but it's also just like this full-on experience. There's music, there's art, there's culture, there's performances, there's cool brand activations from brands that you find and you're like, I love this brand, but they're doing something cool. They're not just standing behind a booth talking about their products. So that really worked for me. And just coming from the brand side, like I knew how powerful that was. It's so important. Like if you're a cool brand and you've put your heart and soul into something, if you can interact with parents and do something cool, like you've won.
Yeah, and also doing it in small locations as well, because I notice unless you're in London, it's really hard to, you know, be anywhere that is. Well, for Rocket's second birthday, we ended up not having a birthday party because I cannot, for the sake of me, find soft play with alcohol.
Yeah. Do you know what? If you like, we should do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I literally,
I want a champagne in my
all of
hand
my friends
while they're having soft
who
play.
live in America, like my friends who live in Portland, there are full-on soft plays that are like also cool for parents.
Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
that would be great.
Soft plays here are an absolute nightmare.
It's such a bad, and like they're like, you have to be obviously with your kid when you're going round and stuff, and there's nothing, it doesn't make you an enjoyable experience as a parent.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
No one wants to go to soft play in the UK. And I think there's only like, I've only found 2 brands in London, and then in Kent, where we are, I'm like, oh, please,
Nothing.
there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And you feel really lonely as a parent, massively, because there's nothing to do. There's nothing.
Well,
you
yeah,
can-
Parentfolk is very much about like building a community. And the other big thing to recognize is that it's not what you would imagine a festival to be. So we go to Camp Festival every year, and that's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
But that's a one-time-a-year thing, right?
Yeah.
You go to that. It's like preparing for war. We prepare like a month in advance. All the costumes, all the kits, like I go a bit mad. Like we've got a cart. It's like themed out. Like
Nice.
I'm that person that you walk by and you're like, oh wow, she really
gone all in.
She got the memo.
Did you, are you doing Wilderness this year?
No. We're just gonna do Camp Festival. I feel like that's my one kid festival. I'm doing other festivals. So if we do go to Wilderness, it would be.
I'm playing Wilderness.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, she's DJing there, yeah.
Amazing. If we
a
go,
whole
it's
big
going to be
night.
without kids.
Nice, yeah, it
Yeah,
should be.
yeah.
You
I
can't,
mean,
you can't
you
get
should-
in
you should
where
be.
she's DJing. You can't get in if you have
can't
kids.
get it. It's the dark. It's the
Camp
dark
Festival.
stage.
Oh, well, Camp Festival feels. It is a seriously like it's totally kid festival. You know what I mean? Wilderness is like could be kid, could be.
It's a bit of both.
Here's the thing about Parentfolk is that it's not this big investment of time and energy.
Yeah.
You go for the day. Some of the events, like the one that we're doing down south, it's in sessions. It's like 3.5 hours. You go, you vibe out, you get the experience. Your kids have a good time. You have a few drinks with your friends. You leave.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that it's
like
sectioned
Taste
out. 'cause
Festival almost,
you
right?
go there,
I don't know what that is.
Taste of Sauce,
It's
a
like
foodie.
a food festival,
Cool.
but they have
Yeah.
sessions as well. It's like going in and knowing that you have a time cap as well makes it kind of forces you to experience everything.
Totally.
I love
yes.
that.
I think that's why I liked it because I think that doing a bunch of festivals in my year doesn't feel like something I could take on. But Parentfolk is very much like you rock up, it's chill, you meet people, like it's just this lovely experience where it's everything. And it's not, there's lots of other companies that do similar things. Like there's baby rave companies and we're not them. We're not two DJs in like a huge warehouse and that's it.
Yeah.
It is very much like you can walk around and have totally different experiences at this event. And music is such a big part of it. But there's other things too. And that's great.
Tell me about the experiences that you are going to have at the festivals and also when the events are.
Yeah, cool. So we've got quite a few going on up north. She's been doing those up north forever, but the one that we're doing down south for the first is in June 8th, which I'm so excited about. And it's very much, we've got it in 2 sessions. It's at the most amazing location. It's at the Yard. and it's quirky and it's cool and it feels vibey, which is just absolutely up our street. But there is storytelling performances, there's DJs, there's skateboard workshops. So there's actual huge ramps in there.
Wow.
In one of the converted barns.
Bring your skateboard.
Yeah,
I will, actually.
I cannot wait. Yes. Can you skateboard?
I have a surf skate, which is something I
I
learned when
know
I
what
was out
that
in
is.
Bali.
Yeah.
It's really popular out there.
Yeah.
And so I bought one in the UK and I was like, there is nowhere to use this in the UK. I went to like a skate park. There's like a huge indoor skate park
Yeah.
that's like 20 minutes from where we live. And it's tough to use a surf skate like on ramps and stuff when you're not
they're
really
doing
experienced.
one. What's the name of this place that you're talking about? Is it in Bournemouth?
No, it's in Kent.
There's
It's
a really
near me.
good
It's
one
like
in Bournemouth
Maidstone.
that's just started doing surf skate nights.
Oh, cool.
I'll
Oh,
send
maybe
you the link. But yeah, we're here for that. Like,
Love
I
that,
wanted it to be something where like kids could go and you could bring your older kids and they could do something. But then we've got Brio doing like really cool interactive experiences, which that's just such a cool,
Brio were like the
cool
big
company.
bricks, right? The bigger bricks.
Yeah, so it's one of the oldest toy companies. So they do like a lot of those wooden, beautiful toys, that the ones you keep on the shelf.
Yeah, the ones
And you
don't
hide
use.
the plastic ones.
Yeah. They used to have like the wooden dog, right?
Yeah,
Where you could...
I think that's where they made loads. It's,
Yeah.
it's such an old company that's actually done really well at adapting to
Yeah.
the times of
Yeah.
how everything's going with regards to like, I don't know. I feel like with kids' toys, you have the classics that everyone kind of goes to. But I like it when brands are self-aware enough to adapt what
Evolve.
they make rather than stick with the same thing.
There's also there's a brand called It's Our Planet 2. They do eco crafting kits. So they're going to come and teach lots of little eco crafting things. And then there's a brand called Sniff and Snail, which I only recently discovered. The name is crazy, but also it's coding for kids. And you basically, we got one, and my son is so obsessed with it. But it's this little computer, and you can get it to do loads of
So
things.
this
We
is
made
the mathematician son. That's
but
obsessed
we
with it,
made a disco ball the other day. So she's coming and doing little coding kids, like things with the kids, which is
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh, that sounds so much fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait. And the reason why I say I can't wait is because we're going to be there.
Yeah! We're going to be there. I'm going to be DJing, and Barney...
I'll be walking around talking to all of you guys who attend the festival.
Yeah.
I'll be chatting. We'll be talking all things parenting. We'll be recording some clips that will be featured on our TikTok pages, Instagram pages,
We'll have a little
across
space
the board,
for-
really.
It's going to be so much fun.
And we'll have a little space where you can come down and say hi. And if you want to open up a dialogue about parenting or ask us any questions about kind of what we do, then happy to chat with people. It's going to be great.
So, Shannon,
good.
you've also got the coast coming up as well, don't you?
Yes. So To the Coast is our first. That's going to be our first. What we're calling a micro festival.
Wow.
We never want to call it a festival, any of our things, because they're not really festivals. Like when you go to a giant festival, it is over the top and big, and it's a production, and you pay £1 million for the tickets, and you spend £1 million there. The cool thing about the Parentfolk events too is that when you buy the ticket, everything's included. So you're not like at the event going, oh, now I need to do this activity.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're doing screen printing. That's another cool thing we're doing at the
Nice.
event for kids, which so cool. But everything's included. So you could really be there as a parent and like fully relax. So To the Coast is something that they're doing up north, and that's the first sort of bigger outdoor type thing that they've done, and it's really exciting.
Is it?
So you've got a lot of variability when
good.
it comes to your like festivals that you do, because you have like smaller events and then the bigger stuff. So To the Coast is like your biggest one.
I think it's the biggest one that she's done. Yeah. The thing is that she also does events within events. So when there's like a family day at like a race course or something like that, she then takes over the family space. So like she's taken over like the middle of the race course, and they've done like a whole family experience. So like those events have like 30,000 people at some of them.
Wow.
So so it varies. But in terms of a like Parentfolk proper events, this is, I'd say, one of the biggest, which is super exciting.
Very exciting.
So cool. She needs to come to Kent though, because honestly, there's nothing there.
That's so
Well,
true.
there you go.
It's true.
There you go.
And
I'm
there's
going to find the
territories.
location. I'm going to be the person that finds the location for the next
There's
Parentfolk
loads of
event.
space. It's the Garden of England for a reason. That's what it's called.
Yeah, there you go. And where can people find Parentfolk online?
Yeah, so the website for the events is parentfolkweekender.com. And then the platform, the digital magazine and everything like that, that's just parentfolk.co.uk. But you can find all the events information and brands, if brands want to work with us. That's the coolest thing, is that it's brands reach out to us all the time too. It tells
they?
you all about that too. So yeah.
Are you going to show your boxes there? Oh, mama. Is it going to
We're
be
not.
a thing?
No, this is full Parentfolk for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
so good.
And obviously, we'll provide all of the information with links in the description down below. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify, just make sure you check that out. And check out the festival, because it's something to go and do with the entire family, and it's tailored for that experience. And that's why we're so excited, because finding things that you can go and do with your children, with your whole family. It is always kind of tailored towards one more than the other. So actually going to Parentfolk and experiencing a completely kind of level playing field, let's call it, for the kids and the parents is
a great way to explain
chef's
that.
kiss. Love it. Shannon, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for coming on. And also, guys, remember to go get your tickets for the 8th of June. We will be there. We want to meet you. So come down, book your ticket now, go online, and we'll leave it there.
Absolutely amazing. Shannon, you're a legend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Shh.